next thing May was aware of was the throbbing pain in her right knee. The pain enveloped her leg to mid-thigh and felt like itchy fire, making her want to scratch her flesh off. May forced herself to lie without moving, eyes closed. May turned her mind from what felt like the start of a major infection to her current situation. What had attacked her? Had she been hallucinating? The black, stony monster. It was hard to think of what might have happened to Bee. The yellowed whites of Bee's eyes, bulging in terror, were burned into May's thoughts like a brand. Carefully, she let one eye open a fraction to see her surroundings. May was lying in a circle of light, like a spotlight on stage. Where the edge of the light ended, darkness rose up so absolutely. May thought that there might be a wall there, but the room felt much bigger. Seeing no one, she risked raising her head for a good look. The floor was smooth and appeared to be translucent marble. The intense light gleamed from the refracted surfaces embedded within, giving it a slight glow. There was no noise other than her shallow breathing. May pushed herself into a sitting position. The sound of her movements echoed dully from invisible walls. She peered into the inky dark for a clue of what might be there. There was none. The light above her head was too bright to look at, and May winced and blinked away spots after trying. The pain in her leg ran all over her body in patches that shifted and chased each other through her nervous system, and her mind felt fevered. Despite the pain, May stretched her hand out to the edge of the light, the tips of her fingers pressing into the darkness, and completely disappeared. It was like dipping her fingers into hot black paint. May squeaked in shock and pulled her fingers back, expecting them to be wet and parboiled. They were dry and clean, but reddened, as if they had been scalded. May examined her hand for a moment, and then peered at the liquid darkness, trying to comprehend the unnatural situation she found herself in. "I must be tripping," she whimpered out loud to herself. A musical laughter bounced around her in the darkness, echoing as if in a cathedral. May jerked around and tried to stand, but the stiffened leg refused to obey. The laughter welled up and cascaded around her, but instead of terror, she felt herself being mesmerized by it. It was like listening to a star laughing, a crystal joy that reverberated in the chambers of her heart, making them shiver with unimaginable longing. Her eyes stung from sudden tears, and May dimly realized that she was laughing too. The sounds combined and welled up like a fountain of color, sound, and light until May felt like she was going to burst, and then it snuffed out. It snuffed out in the dark, as if swallowed by the blackness. May panted in the silence, feeling self-conscious and awkward. She found herself craving more laughter and dreading it at the same time. May adjusted her weight away from the pain in her leg when a voice cut through the darkness like a moonbeam in the night. "You are found alone like the rest of them, lost in the cold, the unremembered, broken and tossed aside in a disposable society. But you are not broken." The confusion and then insult flared up in May. "Do you mean, am I a bum? Are you blind? I happen to be working." May cut her words short. It suddenly occurred to her that she could have been the victim of a very wealthy cult, and the fact that May was a journalist trying to dig up a good story might have not been appealing to them. The second thought that occurred to her is that she had dug up an amazing story, if she lived long enough to tell it. May felt the attention of whoever it was in the darkness on her words, and her brain raced for an answer. body exercising, the words trembled out, sounding thin and false. I was attacked by a bear, I think. How dedicated of you. Most would find it a bit cold and dark for a midnight jog. The statement sounded edged and dangerous, and May found herself dry-mouthed whilst a mass of cold fear settled in her stomach. She nodded dumbly, trying to look truthful. And in such unconventional footgear, May felt a smile underpinning his words. May glared and glanced at her feet and winced at the sight of her sturdy boots covered in mud and sand. She closed her eyes and swallowed against the sudden urge to cry. I was walking and hiking. I liked the night. Her voice trailed off and the silence snuffed itself into her ears like wads of thick cotton. As do I, a voice purred, my little liar. Instead of the harsh accusation May had expected, the voice circled around her soothingly, almost lovingly. You are lucky that I happen to appreciate a good liar, like no one else in this world or in the next. Now May was crying. She felt angry and embarrassed for her clumsy fabrication. What kind of idiot would you say they were, working out of midnight at the docks? May pressed her fingers to her forehead hard, willing herself to compose. The voice wound around her again, this time like a sinuous snake, sliding smooth scales across her mind, giving her shivers. Can you feel how close you are to the next world at this moment? The last moments of life are the sweetest by far. Save the last light, the final golden moment before the onset of night. There was a quiet moment in the darkness beyond her vision. How sad to see your sunset come at noon.